All right, welcome everybody to the very first Q&A session that we're going to have here at MisFit Studios. This is going to be on basically what the channel is about: Inkscape, Hitfilm Express, Hitfilm Pro, some of the tech videos that we've got up. If you guys have any tech questions, if you guys have any questions about the studio, about any of our projects, about MisFit Studios gaming, this is the time to ask those questions, concerns, comments. If you just want to show up and hang out, then you can do that too. Steven, hello. Yellow. I'm assuming you're supposed to, you're trying to say hello. Oh. Yeah, there it is. Black Belt, how are you? How are you? Oh, if you guys have not joined our Discord, please do so. I think we've got links. Can somebody put a link to our Discord in the chat? That would be wonderful. I guess I could do that too. How does my hat not get moldy? Well, I wash it probably once a month. How does one use Inkscape? Well, first you have to install it. So, okay, so let's assume you guys have installed Inkscape. And the thing is there's kind of a specific thing that you want to do with Inkscape. You can't really just like jump on and be like, okay, how do I use this program? There's got to be something that you want to do with the program before you use it, obviously. Are you going to be using Inkscape to create stickers? Like if you've got a vinyl cutter, you're going to be doing it that way. Are you going to be exporting it as an SVG and then importing it into, you know, let's say like the Brother software or anything like that? Or are you wanting to make, you know, different vector images for hats, shirts, billboards, whatever the case may be? I guess we can go into detail on like the difference between vector and raster. Photoshop, like Adobe Photoshop, that is a raster editing. GIMP is also a raster editing software. Inkscape is a vector editing software. I want to make stickers. Okay, well, that's fairly simple. You got to figure out what design you want. And actually, there's two ways of doing it. You can make it from scratch, or you can take a drawing or sketch that you have, you know, created on a piece of paper, scan it in, and go from there. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and create something from a sketch. I wonder if I've got anything sketch-wise that we can throw up real fast, as opposed to finding something off the interwebs. It's fairly easy to do. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's go ahead and I'm just dragging and dropping. You can always, you know, go into File and open something up that way. But this is just a simple image. And if we hold Control and scroll forward, this is what is considered a raster image, and I am rotating the screen. By the way, hold middle mouse button and Control, and it will do that. Let's go ahead and reset the canvas under Document Properties. And of course, I have not done this since they released the full version. I don't remember where they moved that button at. Because that's another thing. We are also on Inkscape 1.0. I don't remember where it went. We're just going to grab a new one. There we go. All right. Crisis averted. Okay, so you're wanting to create a sticker. Obviously, you're not going to be able to do this, you know, without a external software like a vinyl cutter software. But we can make the graphic part of it. And anyways, what I was saying before I destroyed the canvas was the difference between a raster image and a vector image. A vector image is going to be something that scales. So no matter how large or small you're observing that object at, it's going to remain nice and sharp. The edge is going to be nice and clean. Raster image, not so much. So let's go zoom all the way in on this. And as you can see, I almost rotated it again. Middle mouse button while holding control, and if you hold it down and move, you can rotate the canvas. You can see these edges are really pixelated, and they're nice update video. Yeah, that actually could be something that we could look into. This is what's considered a raster image. It's, you know, very pixelated. It doesn't scale. There's no scaling data within the file of the image. And so we zoom back out of this and actually grab another one of these objects here, like this square, and zoom back into that. No matter how far I zoom into this, that line will always be nice and crisp and clean. That is a vector image, kind of in a nutshell. So to create a sticker out of this image or a sketch or anything like that, we can, basically you're just going to be tracing the image that's already here. I don't want to put in these shadows. I want to make something that's, you know, kind of unique. And so what we're going to do is we're going to grab Bezier Pen, which is something that you're going to be using a lot if you're going to do a lot of freeform stuff. And we're just going to go ahead and start, you know, on this left little spoke here. I'm going to go ahead and left click here. We're going to left click down again. And as you can see, we get this nice black line over the top of the black background. We're going to hold down Shift and click a color, and it'll change the line color. You then go to the Edit Paths by Nodes tool, and you can grab this and stretch that just like that. You can curve it around whatever shape you want, or you can actually do this all with the Bezier Pen all in one shot. We're going to go ahead and come up here, left click, and then come down, left click, and hold. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow us to drag our little nodes around to curve that, and let go left click and then right click, and it will put down that line as opposed to selecting another tool. So let's go ahead and just trace this out real quick, because that's exactly what we're doing. We're not doing anything terribly fancy. We're actually going to hold Shift and turn this to like a red line. That way we can see it a little bit better. Oh, I use so many different programs all at once that the panning and shifting. Recently, I've been working with Fusion 360. So if you guys want to learn how to use that program, that's also something that we can do a series on. That's kind of my background is CAD drawing, mechanical CAD drawing. And so I really enjoy building parts and that kind of thing. Eventually, the channel will be getting a 3D printer. It's going to happen. It will happen. Actually, you know what? I think I'm tracing the wrong object. I am. We're just going to go ahead and Control Z back to about there, because we actually want to go straight up and make those separate elements. Because we don't want that. We don't want the rope in the background. We're actually going to come all the way up here, make a little curve like that. There, that looks good. Because what I'm doing is I'm actually creating this sticker in layers. We're on the first layer by default, and so if you select the layers over here, if you don't have these little windows, the icon for the layers is right here. And of course, we are on layer 1, which you always want to be either the background or you want it to be the main body of the image that you're creating. Oh yeah, Fusion 360. Let's see it. Oh, that sounds like fun. What are you doing to print out? I don't know. What do you want to see MisFit Studios print on a 3D printer? Let's put it that way. What would you want to see printed? Because that's going to be kind of the important part of what you guys want to see, or how I guess we print things. I guess this image is a little skewed, but that's okay. Not a big deal. This is really quick and nitty-gritty, so don't judge. I'm not taking my time on this at all. Oh, Nathan Steen. Not related to what you do, but they asked this about streaming. Why the heck does my resolution pixel drop every time I move my character on Roblox? It's not a demanding game. So the output on your stream is being pixelated when you move really quickly, or are you talking about exporting a video, or are you talking about the output capture of a stream? I guess let's put it that way. I should print what I'm working on, Dennis. Ooh, that would be really neat. I would definitely do that if I had a 3D printer. Output capture of a stream. And so, well, the thing is Roblox may not be a demanding game, but when you're playing a game and then also streaming at the same time, you do have to realize that, you know, your machine is working twice as hard. And so it's really hard to say without looking at, you know, the hardware you're using and also the settings that you're using too. I am not and never will be I keep turning the canvas and it's driving me crazy. I am not by any means a expert on streaming, but there are those in MisFit Studios that can definitely assist with that. My comment to you would be to definitely join our Discord and strike up a conversation with possibly Silverbane. Actually, that's definitely who you should talk to about that. But as far as it being pixelated, like I said, it's really hard. It's really hard to figure out, like, you know, what your issue is without looking at your hardware, like what hardware you're using in combination with the settings that your stream output is. Because like I said, you could have a very like Roblox, a very non-demanding game, you know, processor / video card wise, and still get some really weird pixelation and really weird output things happening. And so, yeah, I guess that's kind of a long, short answer. That is the nice thing about MisFit Studios is we are a very, very well-rounded group in terms of, I guess what's the word? The spread of skills. There's a lot of us that know a lot of different things. Let's put it that way. And so if you have a question and I personally don't know the answer, I guarantee you there is a very high chance, high probability that one of us in the studio can either find it or knows it. Okay, so now that I've kind of drawn on and, you know, some of us. yeah, true. That is very true. Now that I've kind of like babbled on, I have then finished the main body of this little anchor in the sticker, quote unquote, that we're making. Just a little tip when you're using the Bezier Pen. Let's say you make, you know, a curve and you click off of it and you start another curve, you accidentally click somewhere. And what happens is if you just end up, you know, I've got snapping turned on, which is this little bad boy up here in the top left, and you can see it because the logo is out of the way. Thank you. If you snap there and start a new line, that will be two different objects. It will be two completely different objects. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the Edit Paths by Nodes tool, and if you select the path that you want the object to be part of, go ahead and select that. Go back to the Bezier Pen and then select one of these square nodes on the ends. It will then continue that and create a solid shape. So don't worry if you ever unclick off of any of those. There is a fix because I do it all the time. Let's go ahead and select our path that we just created. And without just left mouse clicking, you can actually fill in that path that we've got. What we're going to do is we're going to turn the opacity down to about half. That way we can see, actually, oh, I'm still on the layer. We're going to go to the fill and stroke, and then the fill, we're going to go to about half. That way we're not changing the opacity of the entire layer. So we've got our very rough anchor, like the main body of the anchor. Let's go ahead and put in this second part, this cross part up at the top. If anybody has got any naval background, please tell me what the parts of this anchor are and what they're called, why they are the way that they are, why they are, why. You know what I mean. So now that we've got the center one here, let's go ahead and actually create a new layer. And realistically, if this is going to be a really big project, I would definitely name all these layers, but I'm not going to. And actually, we can just create a square that shift click gets rid of the stroke, which is going to be the lining or the line around the outside. We're going to go ahead and edit paths by nodes tool, and we can actually change the roundness of these corners like that, just to make it as simple as possible. Let's go ahead and change this color too to like a green. There we go. And we want it to be behind this top layer, and so we can actually move this down and it'll put it behind the top layer. Unfortunately, it put it behind our canvas too, our canvas background, see? So let's go ahead and move that back to the top. And I'm just dragging and dropping these over here. And so think of it as whatever is going to be on the top layer, you want that to be on the top of the list. Words, they are hard. And you so good, you make good people look not so good. Oh, I haven't seen that movie in a very, very long time. So yes, anyways, if you're not wanting to move the layers around, you can move the individual objects by selecting them and then coming up here. We're actually going to move this down a few. You can raise selection one step, raise to the very top, raise selection down one step, or raise to the bottom. But of course, we're the only thing on this particular layer, so we can't move that between each and every layer. And so we can actually leave this here for right now, and then we'll worry about that get there. So now we got to put in this little ring here. So let's make a third layer, and we're going to put in a circle. We're going to start from the center, hold down Control and Shift. Bring it up to like that. Then we're going to grab a different color. Well, let's reselect that and make that, what, blue? And then we're going to grab another circle. Our snapping is on. Oh, we're not snapped to the center of circles. That's why. Snap center of objects. There we go. Roll. Where's my snap? Come on. There it is. Oh. Oh, yeah, big. There we go. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and select the outside circle, hold Shift, hold Control. It's not like me doing that. Did I put it behind it? I did, didn't I? And then we're going to go to Path and Difference. That's not the right. That is not the right function. And not coming out of the top. Now it feels like I've never used this program before. Funny looking. There we go. Oh, do. I don't know why I keep doing that. Steven, did you just donate $5? One at best. Man, I gotta turn that down. That is like way loud in my ear. I have to sit back down with Inkscape for the next like 10 years and relearn how to use the program, apparently. That is not it either. Oh, good lord. I'm gonna make this one bigger. There we go. I don't know why I kept clicking the same exact one over and over and over again. Struggle. Yeah, I figured it out though. I mean, it only took me way too long to do that. All right, so we now have three layers. 20 minutes later, for our sticker. Should I put the rope in? Kind of a weird looking thing. This little cross anchor thing is bizarre too, but that's okay. Dennis with another $5, man. Thank you. Which we can actually go ahead and just snake this around. Like that. And then let's make it like stupid pink. And actually it looks like we want it to go behind that. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna stop it right there and start a new one. And we want it to go in front of that and behind this. All right. I didn't make a new layer. Oh well, that's okay. But anyways, what we can do is we can then select both of these, go into our fill and stroke, go to stroke style, and we can actually change the thickness of this like that. Of course, this is the fastest way to do it, and it is not the most accurate, obviously. And so the correct way to do this would be to, we're actually going to turn the opacity all the way down on that. Take your Bezier pen and actually trace around and make individual objects. That way you can actually have a fill, especially if you're putting this on a vinyl cutter. The vinyl cutter is going to see that line as a line. It's not going to see it as an object. And so when you save it as ESV or export it as ESVG and then import it as or import it into the new software, 9 times out of 10 it's only going to see it as a really wide line and it won't cut it right. That has just been my experience, and so keep that in mind when you guys are making this kind of stuff on your guys' vinyl cutters, if that's what you're wanting to do. I'm gonna actually go ahead and delete our background image, and let's turn all of these atrocious colors up. This is by no means a perfect representation of that anchor, but it is kind of a crash course in basically tracing, because that's really all we did. There are, if you guys want to learn how to create things from scratch, it is a lot more in-depth, and knowing the controls and knowing how all of these little buttons and kind of things work is a little different. which we're going to get into right now. It's cartoony. It is not cartoony. That is realism at its finest. It is the best. I wouldn't even say cartoony because this bottom here looks really kind of clean, and then the top just looks like I phoned it in, to be perfectly honest with you. We're going to hit the old delete key on that one. Okay, just to go through some of these icons over here so you guys know what kind of I'm talking about. They are, I'm down with the thickness. They're some of them are kind of self-explanatory, others not so much. So of course the very top one is your select tool. It is what you're going to select things with. I know it's a shocker, but it's what it's used for. The bottom one is going to be the Edit Paths by Nodes tool, and you can actually see you've got a whole bunch of different settings up here, which is going to change the appearance of a lot of the nodes, a lot of the little brackets that you can grab, and I'm going to explain that here in a second when we get some objects onto the screen. Before I do that, though, I'm going to actually get rid of this page background because it's kind of annoying. You just go to File, Document Properties, and then you uncheck Show Page Border. And the nice thing about that is if you guys are, creating something that you want to print off, if you print straight from Inkscape, it will not print anything outside this border, especially if it's, the 8.5 by 11, which is the default size. Everything is in millimeters right now, but you can also change the units to, inches, pixels, centimeters, and then you can change the page border size to any of these presets you want to. But we are going to turn it off because I think it's kind of annoying. Anyways, let's go ahead and use the square, which is the square icon. And if you left click and then drag, it'll bring up a square, just like with any other object in Inkscape. If you hold Control, it will lock it in that top left corner. You hold Shift, it'll go from the center of the click, and if you hit Control Shift, it will scale it evenly, horizontally and vertically. I don't know why I have a pink. Oh, that's right, because our last line that I made, I turned the stroke to pink. To change that on the fly, you just go ahead and click and select whatever object you are wanting to change colors of. Hold Shift and then select any one of these colors. We'll change the stroke. If you want to get rid of it, you just click the little X and then let go of Shift and then just regular click left mouse button on any of these colors here. We'll change the fill color. We're just going to make it black. And actually, let's go ahead and give it a black fill or a black outline or a black stroke and then Shift, excuse me, getting ahead of myself, and then just regular click on the X and it'll get rid of the fill. Under our fill and stroke menu, which is this little icon here, if you don't have this bracket on the right side, which if you're just opening the program, you won't. I've been watching for like 5 minutes and I've already learned more here than from my old computer teacher in high school. That's sad. Or it really isn't, because I'm not really teaching typing. And so it depends on how old you are. Your computer class could have been computer typing, and so, but anyways, where was I? Oh, that's right. The fill and stroke menu. Obviously this tab here is going to be your fill. You can add gradients. The stroke paint is going to be the color of the stroke. You can actually get it to be, if you've got an RGB code, you can put that in, or HSL. Words are hard. We'll get there. Just bear with me. And then the stroke style is going to give you whether you can, put dashes or lines in it. It's going to give you the spacing between those, different markers. And so if you're, building schematics, you can do that in Inkscape too. And then these joints, caps, and then the order. We're actually going to make this squared. And actually, I think the reason for that is because, there we go, our little nodes were pulled for some reason. And we're still rounded. Maybe it's just because the stroke is so big. Nope, it's still rounded. Good, Phil. Oh, I like you guys. You guys are top notch. Anyways, now that we've got an object down, I'm gonna go to the Edit Paths by Nodes tool, and just like the name suggests, you're gonna be able to edit the paths using their nodes. And these little squares are going to change its size. And so whatever square opposite is going to be its anchor. And then if we zoom in, hold control and scroll mouse wheel forward, this little circle here is going to allow us to change the rounded corners. That one down just like that. Go ahead and bring those back. There we go. Now we're nice and sharp. So that, in a nutshell, is the Edit Paths by Nodes tool. The nice thing about this is you can actually grab one of these paths. Come on. That does not like it. Oh, that's right. It's a square, so I'm not allowed to grab those. And I hate this canvas moving. I'm going to change that keybind. It's driving me crazy. So, yes, anyways, when you're using this square, you can actually change its size before you deselect anything else. And so if you want this to be, 10 millimeters by 10 millimeters, you can do that by changing its size before you select it. You unclick off of it and have this object selected, or even this square. Up here on the top, sure that you guys can see that, yep. You can actually change its dimensions, as you can see here. Width and height are all in millimeters. If we turn that to pixels, it'll give us the sizes in pixels. So let's say you're trying to make, you're trying to create a background for your computer and you want it to be a certain pixel size. You can select pixels and tell it what size you want it. We're going to keep it in millimeters. Actually, if you make sure that this little lock is unlocked, which is going to be default, you can actually change the width 300 and then 300. What that lock is going to do is it's going to keep the ratio. And so this one is unlocked. We're actually going to make this 10 by 50, just kind of a, random number. If we lock this and then we make this width 20, it's going to make the height 100 because it's keeping the ratio the same between the height and the width. Just a little FYI. So let's go ahead and get rid of our squares. And we're going to move on to, you guessed it, circles. Same exact controls as before. If you, just left click and drag, it'll create an ellipse. It won't be a perfect circle. Or if you click control, top left corner, shift will be from the center, and then control shift is going to be a perfect circle, just like with the square. Back to the Edit Paths by Nodes tool. You grab this little square up here. You can smash it from the top, and then you can also smash it from the left and right. The circle here, you can actually create kind of a pie wedge around the radius. Pretty easy, not difficult at all. Underneath the circle, though, we've got squares and polygons, and for whatever reason, the default on this is like really weird gears. Anyways, you can we've got star selected. You can actually select polygons if you'd like. We're going to keep it on squares. And what this is going to do is it's going to give us the ability to change the number of teeth, whether they're rounded, the size of the radius on a lot of these, on all of the teeth, on a lot of these teeth. And so corners, we're going to make it a 6-pointed star. The spoke ratio, if you go down, you can actually make these spokes larger or smaller. And rounded, we're going to make it 0. That way it actually looks like a star. And you can randomize these two. And so it really, really distorts the star. About 1. It's just randomizing the points of the star. 0.25. See, we just had a value that was way too high for that. Keeping it 0, of course, you're going to give a nice, nice perfect star. And then, of course, deselecting it, you won't be able to edit the number of stars, so just remember, or the number of points within the star, or you're not going to be able to change it back to a polygon either. Let's go ahead and grab that again and actually change it back to the polygon. And you can change the number of sides on that. And so if you guys are trying to make, hexagon, pentagon, octagon, you don't have to sit down and measure and do it that way. You can just, use the polygon tool and change the size. The nice thing about that, though, is if you re-click that, Control Shift, as you can see, these increments are going to snap, and that's because you were holding down the control key. We'll let go of the shift key. You can change the size without it snapping. And so if you want this to be up and down, or up and down, if you want this to be perpendicular perfectly, go ahead and control shift, and then you can actually go back to your selection tool, and then you can change the width and the height from here, and it'll actually keep the ratio. So we've got it locked there, and we want it to be, you know, we want it to be, what, 450 wide. Now, if we click the object twice while holding control, we get these little arrows on these corners, and we can then rotate it again from there. Okay, so from that we've got the 3D icon. What is the official name? Create 3D boxes. This thing is a mind trip to use. I don't think I have ever seriously used it because it's kind of difficult to use and to control. I'm sure there is a tutorial out there, and maybe I just need to sit down and, you know, learn myself how to do it. But just meme and hello, how are you? Welcome to the Q&A. If you have any questions, please feel free. But no, anyways, I don't think I have ever seriously sat down and learned how to use the 3D square, or the 3D cube, excuse me. And so with that being said, I don't use it. I really don't use it, and I'm not going to show how to use it because, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't know. I am by no means an expert on Inkscape. I know just enough to be dangerous, and that's about it. So, now we're going to be taking a look at the spirals, and as you can tell, it's spirals. Why are we solid black? What setting am I messing up here? I want to know. That is very interesting why I can't see. Is that a bug, or am I not doing something right here? No, I'm zoomed 1-1. Oh, there we go. I just have like almost no turn. No, it says 10 turns. That's... Oh, I just had the radius turned way down. That's why. Okay, that makes sense now. Stroke thickness? No, I figured it out. I must have that's the one thing about Inkscape. Whatever setting you had it on last, it will keep that even if you close a program. And so I must have been doing something, trying to get an ellipse or something. And you can actually grab the edit pads by nodes tool and, you know, do that as opposed to, oh, go back. There we go. As opposed to changing the settings before you put it down. See, that's a little bit better. But like I said, you can, the divergence, you actually put this to 0. Maybe it's 1 as a default. There we go, 1 is a default setting. And then you can, you know, the even spacing will be the divergence between the outside and the inside. Somebody asked a question related to stickers made in Inkscape. Oh, I'm behind. I'm sorry, guys. I'm confused. What is happening? I just joined. Oh, right. Asked a question related to stickers. Yeah, we're past that, unfortunately. I mean, we can always touch back on it if you want. Like, when is SN10 going to launch? It is not that kind of channel. But if you guys know, please post it in the chat. Anyways, what we're doing is just memeing. I am going through each of the most used or most ones that I use icons in Inkscape. And so if there's something that you want to learn how to do, let me know. If I don't know how to do it, maybe we'll do a video on it later. Because like I said before, if you missed that, I am by no means an expert in Inkscape, but I know enough to hopefully help somebody else figure something out. That's kind of like my bread and butter. Anyways, we got the spirals down. It's pretty self-explanatory. It draws a spiral. Underneath that is our Bezier Pen. I use the selection tool, the edit paths by nodes tool, and the Bezier Pen, probably, not necessarily in that order of importance or usage, but the most often, because this is going to be something that you can, create a very quick shape with. You can curve things. I mean, it is very versatile. And then, of course, if you don't like the way it looks, you can always grab the Edit Paths by Nodes tool and change any of that. The neat thing about it, though, is let's get rid of some of these shapes. We grab that Bezier pen again. Up here, you can actually see, you can change the different modes, and you can change the shape in which you draw. So we've got none selected, so it's going to draw just a simple line. Triangle in is going to give us, a triangle that slowly works itself in. Triangle out, obviously it's going to be a triangle that goes from small to large. Ellipse, again, very self-explanatory. It's going to stretch an ellipse. Excuse me, it's going to stretch a circle, which, of course, is an ellipse from one point to the next point. And you can curve these just like you can with a regular line, too. And so you can actually copy from clipboard, too. So if you've got something that you've created, let's actually go back to the triangle out. Make this, kind of a different shape, like that. Right click, we're going to copy it. Excuse me. Sorry. And then go back to our Bezier pen, and then we're going to go from clipboard. You can see it actually stretched that object that we just created with the Bezier pen. Just like that. It gets a little weird when you put curves in it. I know Inkscape isn't a huge fan about doing that kind of stuff. Or you can do last applied, and it will do the exact same thing as your clipboard, as long as you're pulling stuff from the clipboard. I want to know what software you would suggest for using to make emojis for Twitch/Discord. Well, Inkscape would be a good one. And to make a quick emoji, we could do that. I don't know what the file type for emojis are. Does anybody know what the file type for emojis are? Obviously, it's not going to be animated, because animated stuff in Inkscape is, I don't want to say impossible, but it is very, 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 very difficult. And so if any of you guys know what the file type, I guess I could do a quick Google search. Oh, you can just save it as a PNG. Okay. What is the size? Uh, 128 by 128. What I'm saying? Sorry, guys. Yeah, we'll just go with that. 128 by 128 sounds good. I will look into it, and we will go from there. What is this? I had some weird thing on my screen. Where were we? Oh, yes, the after that we've got the pencil, which is the freehand draw tool, which of course is going to be freehand draw. Pretty self-explanatory. There's the different settings up here, and again, I don't typically use the freehand draw tool, because the when you're doing vector image, be a smoker. When you're doing vector art, I guess you could say, to be a little bit more accurate is, I think, a little bit more important than like raster editing, I guess. And that's why I use the Bezier Pen and not the draw freehand lines. And then draw calligraph or stroke brush strokes. I'm just gonna stop. Just gonna stop. This is gonna be your typical you know, inkwell calligraphy style. And there's obviously it's selected dip pen. You can have no preset marker, wiggly, which is kind of ridiculous. But yeah, like I said, this will just give you, you know, one of those paths in a vector image as opposed to a raster, like you would do with like 3D Paint or, you know, Paint 3D on that, you know, comes with Microsoft 10 or Windows 10 or GIMP or any of those other editors. And then of course we got the text tool, which I use this quite a bit excuse me. You select it and then click anywhere on the screen and you can actually, you know, type whatever you'd like. I'm pulling a Griff. And then once you've selected your text or typed out your text, you can deselect it and you actually come up here to the text panel and it will bring up all of your different fonts that you can use, which is kind of neat. And it'll give you a preview down here of what they're going to look like. We're going to go ahead with Copper Plate Gothic Bold because it looks like a good fit, and then click apply and it will change that. And you can do this with multiple. Select both of those back to the text, and then again change the font. You guys can see it, and click apply, and it'll apply the font to both of those two texts. So you don't have to, you know, select each one individually. Little lines are showing up. I don't know why. Underneath that one is going to be our create and edit gradients. We don't have any gradients on the screen right now, so let's go ahead and throw some in. Create a square. We're going to go up to our fill and stroke menu, and then we're going to click, let's go do a radial. And what that's going to do is it's going to give us a radial gradient. So the gradient inside the circle is going to be darker from the center. And we actually select this. We can then change the intensity. We can change its shape. And this is just within this square. Excuse me, we're working with a square, not a circle. This is just within the square. And so we're not changing the gradient of anything else other than this object. We can also change the color to make it just about any shape that you want. Make it checkerboard if you wanted to. And so that's really all there is to it with that. So we can bend all of these down and really make some really interesting shapes. And then, of course, underneath that is our create and edit meshes. Personally, I have never used this, and so I am not going to show you how to use it because I don't know. It's not something that I've ever used. I think I've messed around with it once before. And so I think it's upset that I have to open at the same time. I love it when it's live. It's great. It's awesome. When I record Inkscape videos, I think I do that like twice at least during the recording of those, and I edit it out because it's kind of embarrassing for one, is that I always hit that control and I want to pan with it, and I don't know why, but it's just something that I do. Ink Dropper, of course, is going to pick colors from images. If you hold it down, click on it, you can actually see the square next to the little ink dropper change colors as we get into, you know, that black line. Paint is going to give us, just like the name suggests, it's going to paint inside the square. That is a lot of squares. I don't know why it's doing that. That is really bizarre. Is it upset that I'm a different layer? Why is it putting down like a whole bunch of squares at once? Oh, is that bucket copy and pasting things? Fill bounded areas. No, it's a fill tool. I don't use it very often. It's really what it looks like it's doing. What my settings set at? Um, that's really weird. Full bundle. Nathan, what is that? What is the link that you posted, sir? Painter art contest. Illustration, fine art, photo art. Win big, over 30,000 US cash and prizes. Oh, that's interesting. Humble Bundle Software Design Expression Powerhouse. You take advantage of Coral Painter 2020 and a massive brush bundle for professional artistic expression. Also included are multicam capture. So pay $1 or more. $1,200 worth of stuff. So it looks like it's a bunch of art. Pinnacle Studio 24, multicam capture. And if you pay $30 or more, you get a bunch of brush packs, it looks like. For Coral or Corel Painter. I don't know which pronunciation is correct. Huh. That's kind of different. Something I saw might be worth you talking. I don't know. I've never even heard of Corel Painter. As the most realistic professional digital art studio painter, Painter 2020 offers an expansive collection of natural media and unlimited art materials that exceed the creative needs of any illustrator, photographer, or fine artist. Powerful in-app learning, modern user interface, and custom brushes, you can create a painting or photo art of any genre. That's kind of neat. I will have to look into that, and we'll have to get back to you. If any of you guys want to definitely get in on that, Nate has been so gracious as to put the link in the chat. So before we close the stream, because we're coming up on an hour, I didn't want to run all night long. Was there any last minute questions that you guys had that I may or may not have the answer to? I might have a answer, it may not be the right answer. No, if it's the wrong or if it's not the right answer and I know it, I will say so. But please, by all means, feel free to ask. All right, well, everybody, thank you for stopping by for those of you that did. And of course, you can always join the Discord and ask myself or anybody else there here in MisFit Studios on really any topic, if it's tech related or even if it's not tech related. Maybe one of us knows. Stop on by. How do you make Griff look good on film using Hitfilm? I'll have to email FX Home and see if they have a filter for that. I don't think they do. I think they're probably going to have to create like a whole brand new program. But for any of you that don't know, Griff is one of the owners of MisFit Studios, and we've got to give him a hard time as often as humanly possible. So, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, Grahamian here with MisFit Studios.